Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kaviviretam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Bhurida Jana. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are reading on chapter 8. In my book it is page 181 and the date is Sunday, February 18th, 1883. Sunday, if you've got a book, you can. Sunday, February 18, 1883. This is the beginning of the chapter. And the chapter is titled The Master's Birthday Celebration at Dakshineshwar. So by that time he was fairly well known in Calcutta, and so the devotees would come and observe his birthday as a festival. Now of course it's a huge thing now, but it had already started during his lifetime. 18th February 1883. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at Govinda Mukherjee's house at Belgharia, near Calcutta. Besides Narendra, Ram and other devotees, some of Govinda's neighbors were present. The master first sang and danced with the devotees. After the kirtan, they sat down. Many saluted the master. Now and then he would say, "Bow before God." It is God alone, he said, who has become all this. But in certain places, for instance, in a holy man, there is a greater manifestation than in others. You may say there are wicked men also. That is true. Even as there are tigers and lions. But one need not hug the tiger god. One should keep away from him and salute him from a distance. Take water, for instance. Some water may be drunk, some may be used for worship, some for bathing, and some only for washing dishes. A neighbor: "Revered sir, what are the doctrines of Vedanta?" Master: "The Vedantist says, I am He. Brahman is real and the world illusory. Even the I is illusory. Only the Supreme Brahman exists. But the I cannot be got rid of. Therefore it is good to have the feeling, I am the servant of God, His son, His devotee. For the Kali Yuga, the path of bhakti is especially good. One can realize God through bhakti too. As long as one is conscious of the body, one is also conscious of objects. Form, taste, smell, sound and touch, these are the objects. It is extremely difficult to get rid of the consciousness of objects, and one cannot realize I am He as long as one is aware of objects. The sannyasi is very little conscious of worldly objects, but the householder is always engrossed in them. Therefore it is good for him to feel, I am the servant of God. Neighbor: Sir, we are sinners. What will happen to us? Master: All the sins of the body fly away if one chants the name of God and sings His glories. The birds of sin dwell in the tree of the body. Singing the name of God is like clapping your hands. As at a clap of the hands, the birds in the tree fly away, so do our sins disappear at the chanting of God's name and glories. Again you will find that the water of a reservoir dug in a meadow is evaporated by the heat of the sun. Likewise, the water of the reservoir of sin is dried up by the singing of the name and glories of God. You must practice it every day. The other day at the circus I saw a horse running at top speed with an English woman standing on one foot on its back. How much she must have practiced to acquire that skill. Weep at least once to see God. These then are the two means, practice and passionate attachment to God. That is to say, restlessness of the soul to see Him. Sri Ramakrishna, began his midday meal with the devotees. It was about 1 o'clock. A devotee sang in the courtyard below, "Awake, mother, awake! How long thou hast been asleep in the lotus of the Muladhara! Fulfill thy secret function, mother! Rise to the 1,000-petaled lotus within the head, where mighty Shiva has his dwelling. Swiftly pierce the 6 lotuses, and take away my grief, O essence of consciousness." Hearing the song, Sri Ramakrishna went into samadhi. His whole body became still, and his hand remained touching the plate of food. He could eat no more. After a long time, his mind came down partially to the plane of the sense world, and he said, "I want to go downstairs." A devotee led him down very carefully. Still in an abstracted mood, he sat near the singer. The song had ended. The master said to him very humbly, "Sir, I want to hear the chanting of the mother's name again." The musician sang, "Awake, mother, awake! How long thou hast been asleep in the lotus of the Muladhara." The master again went into ecstasy. All right, that's a lot to be going on with. There is Advaita Jnana here, there is Bhakti here, there is Tantra here, there is meditation here. All of that is here. Very beautiful. So let's take a look. I'll read portions of it and comment on it, and do feel free to drop in, come in at any time with a comment or a question. Just raise your hand and I'll call on you. So when people were coming and bowing down to him, Sri Ramakrishna would say to God, then why do we bow down to holy people? Especially in Hinduism, we do that. Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, the Indian religion especially. He explains here that he says it is God alone. So I'm going back to what I read. I'm rereading certain portions. It is God alone, he said, who has become all this. But in certain places, in a holy man, there is a greater manifestation than in others. You may say there are wicked men also. It's true, as there are tigers and lions, but one need not hurt the tiger god. And then he gives an example of water also. Some used for worship, some for washing, some for drinking, and so on. So what's going on here? It is God alone who has become all this. So this is a very, very important doctrine of Hinduism. See, God exists. All the religions of the world are agreed on this. You might say, what about Buddhism, Jainism? Yes, not in the theistic sense, but that there is an ultimate reality to be attained, nobody doubts this. There's something beyond the Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, whatever you call it. If you ask the Taoists, they will say the way or the Tao is there. There is this ultimate higher reality. So everybody agrees there. Now, one distinction in Hinduism is God is transcendent and immanent. Swami Vivekananda says, we Hindus worship a transcendent, immanent God. That means not only is God beyond time and space and the creator of this universe, beyond time and space, he's beyond, without form, beyond time and space. Then what is his relationship to time, space, and this world? He's the creator, the Lord of all, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, and yet transcendent, not involved directly here. But according to the Hindus, the Hindu doctrine, all of the schools of Hinduism, God is not only transcendent, beyond all this, but also in and through all of this. And we have discussed this again and again when we study Vedanta. All the Upanishads mention this, that it is that reality which is formless, attributeless, is also the reality which has created all this, and created means created out of its own being. So that reality must pervade everything, just as wood. If the carpenter makes furniture out of wood, this table, that altar, where is the wood then? Here. The wood is here, it's here. So the wood is immanent. Immanent means in the effect. The cause is in the effect. But also transcendent. How is the wood transcendent? Because the wood existed before it was a table or an altar. And it will continue to exist even when it's no longer a table or an altar. If you break these, it'll become wood chips, but still wood. So that's an example. How something can be transcendent and immanent. God is more so, even much more so immanent, both immanent and transcendent. So he says God has become all this. Equally? No, there's a difference. There's a difference. At least from our perspective. So the table is a kind of secular thing, but the altar we are little more careful about because it's a kind of holy thing for us. So there's a manifestation of divine qualities in some places, some times, and some objects, in some people. So there are holy places which we consider to be pilgrimage places. These are nexuses of spiritual power. You can feel it. Many people say, I feel a vibration here. I feel an atmosphere here. This place is one such place. But the great pilgrimage sites of the world, there are many in India, and there are also others in other parts of the world, where you feel the presence of the divine little more easily than in other places. God is everywhere, but more manifest in certain places. God is all the time, but more manifest in certain times. So why we observe the great religious festivals of humanity, Shivaratri, Durga Puja, Christmas, and so on. So these are Buddha Purnima, the Eid. These are the times when, if one tries, God is more, the divine is more accessible. These are times, temporarily special. And there are objects and people. And there are the objects which have been worshipped as like portals into divinity. Every object must be divine because God is immanently present here. But as I said, the table is a table, and that's different from our perspective. We are very careful about it. Technically, it's just wood. This is also that also, but we are very careful about that. So there are places, the objects which are special, and that also includes people. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is driving at. There are holy people in which God is more manifest. If now a possible objection could be, if God is everywhere, in everything, at every time, in every object, in every person, then how come there are evil people? There are awful people. How do you explain? This is an objection to the presence of the divine everywhere. There are evil people. How can that be God? It has to be. Logically it has to be. If there are certain things outside God, it's a limited God then. Anyway, we will not go into the logic of it, but Vedanta and Hinduism insists God is immanent everywhere. So if there are evil people, are you denying they are evil? Sri Ramakrishna does not go into the metaphysics of it. He admits it. Yes, there are evil people. But how does it affect you practically? Sri Ramakrishna is above all very practical. He seems to be the most unworldly person, but he is practical in a spiritual sense. If any one of us wants to realize God, become a better person, become a spiritual person, and ultimately realize God, then Sri Ramakrishna is the go-to person. The most practical more practical than anybody else. So he says, okay, all right, we will not go into the metaphysics of why is there evil if God exists. That's a separate subject, and we can deal with that. And in the other places in the book, he takes up that issue. People ask him. But here, your practical question should be, all right, there are evil people. God is appearing as that evil person. All right, then how do I deal with it? Do I go and worship that evil person? No, he says no. Common sense. And just as you would, day-to-day life, you would avoid an awful person or a dangerous person, a dangerous place, a dangerous time. And in the same way, you would do it here, knowing full well the presence of God. But he says, he gives two examples. The tiger God, God is also the tiger. You don't hug the tiger, because the tiger is going to hug you back. See, we have a purpose in life. If our purpose is God realization, the worldly person has a purpose in life. He wants to become rich, wants to get a degree, wants to get a job. Now there are also all these photo shoots going on. What is it? Graduation photo shoots. So much effort has been put in to get a degree. It's good. And then next effort will start. Job. And I meet many of the kids. So now that degree is done, yay, wonderful, photo shoot over. Now awful, the job market is very bad. So another struggle starts. Then family, get married, engaged, married, and then children. And then It goes on and on. And so they have purpose. And because they have a purpose, whether you want to get a degree, whether you want or want to become rich or raise a family, you'll be careful about dangerous people, dangerous places. You will not put yourself in harm's way. You have to protect yourself, take care of yourself so that you achieve your worldly goal. The same thing for spiritual life. Same thing for spiritual life. You want to realize God. You want to pray, meditate, have a serene, calm mind, be of use to others. There's no use, getting in trouble with evil people or getting into trouble in difficult circumstances, putting yourself in trouble deliberately because I was told that God is here. No, then you will not attain your goal. So that kind of common sense. All right. If you still remember your question, yes.
Could you explain a little bit more about the manifestation being different in different objects? Is it more or less in terms of quantity or quality? Like how electricity, one example that I've heard is electricity that comes out to a 100-watt bulb versus a 40-watt bulb. But electricity is the same, but I'm not clear on what.
Yes. More than quantity or quality, as far as we are concerned with about spirituality, the presence of the divine, the manifestation of the divine. Because otherwise, difference is very clear. You find differences in size, differences in power, differences in intellect, differences in artistic ability. You find difference all across the world. That's what the world is composed of, difference. But if you claim that underneath it all is one entity, then you need to explain how these differences came about. If it's one, it should be the same everywhere. So if you say one divinity is there everywhere, now you need to deal with the differences. How is it good here? How is it bad there? So you have to say that the same divinity is now appearing through different qualities. Is there more divinity expressed somewhere and less? Yes. Somewhere the expressions are through Maya. Somewhere the expressions are avidya Maya, somewhere they are vidya Maya. Where they are avidya Maya, avidya Maya is that which generates our reaction of anger, lust, greed, fear, negativity, and they trap us more and more in samsara. One sign is our suffering goes on increasing. The vidya Maya is that which generates devotion, faith in God, meditation, prayer, knowledge of the self, and it frees us. That's also an appearance in this world. So there are texts, there are temples, people, teachers, so many things are there. And in each case, avidya and vidya maya, in the worldly sense, there are some things which really trap us in the world and almost no escape is possible. There are small things which may delude us for a moment. Similarly, in the spiritual realm, there might be a small manifestation of power where we might get a little inspiration. There might be a tremendous manifestation of power which completely changes many lives. So the power is different. The power to transform, uplift, change. That's one. I mean, there's difference everywhere, but this difference is what we are concerned with here. Tiger god, and then there's the water. Some water may be drunk, some may be used for worship, some bathing, and some for washing dishes. A neighbor asks, "Revered sir, what are the doctrines of Vedanta?" Why don't we get more such neighbors? I don't know. Yeah, it was. Was that a strange time, or this is a strange time? Sri Ramakrishna says the Vedantist, here by Vedanta he means Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta. He says here, I am he in the sense Soham. So it would mean I am that. It's not he in a male gender. I am that. Brahman is real and the world illusory. Even the I is illusory. Only the Supreme Brahman exists. So this is the core of Advaita Vedanta, the heart of Advaita Vedanta. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya and Jiva Brahmeva Napara. Brahman alone is real. There is one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. In dreams, only the dreaming mind is real. The person in the dream and whatever the person sees and does and experiences, all of that is an appearance. Appearance of what? The dreaming mind. In the snake rope, the rope which is mistaken to be a snake, Only the rope is real, though it looks like a snake. In the mirage, you see the oasis and water, well, only the desert is real. And there's that shimmering hot air because of which there's refraction of light and there's illusion of water. Similarly, here only God is real, Brahman is real. There's one limitless existence consciousness place. Then what about this world which is appearing? It's an appearance, like a mirage, like a snake in the rope, like a phantom in the darkness, or like a table in the wood, like an ornament in the gold, like a pot in clay, like wave in the water. You will say, these are two different examples, Swami. Snake in the rope and table in the wood. Yes, and what considering? Why they are different and why we think they are not the same? In what sense Advaita uses each example? But anyway, all these examples are used. So, all right, so this whole world is an appearance. There is one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. Then we ask the question, but what about me? What am I, real or false? And it says, you are Brahman. You are Brahman. I am that. This limited I, which identifies itself, the ego, with this body and mind, that is also illusory, he says. Even this I, this ego is illusory. Really, what am I? I'm really Brahman. Apparently, this little person. Even that is in another place, Vivekananda calls it nonsense. Just like when we wake up from a dream, we remember it, and we remember experiencing it. We also consider it nonsense. Unconnected stuff, just imagined in the mind. Now let me get on with my day. It's just a dream. To the enlightened person, our so-called terribly important life, our terrible issues seem just like that, unconnected. And his own life, whatever happened pre-enlightenment, unconnected, half sleepwalking, a fog. One beautiful description of Maya, of ignorance before enlightenment, is that of a mist which gets dispelled as the sun rises higher in the sky. Everything seemed vague. The reality was there. You could see the reality, but it was sort of distorted, not quite clear. And then you also saw things in the mist shapes, like ghosts, but which is not there at all. The reality was not seen clearly, and that which was not real appeared to you. As the mist was dispelled, everything is seen clearly. Similarly, here itself, in this reality, we are not seeing rightly. We are sleepwalking through life. So, you are Brahman. The question. Yes. All right. Yeah, it's true. It sounds like a dichotomy. There's only one reality. And in the state of ignorance, we consider this to be the reality. Here I am, this person. You may call me consciousness, Atman, Brahman, whatever, but clearly I am a body. I have some thoughts and feelings. I have a memory. I have a history as a person. I have certain projects in life, certain hopes, certain desires, certain frustrations and unhappinesses. All of this together, I am this intelligent, conscious being. This is who I am. And there are many such before me. And here's a whole wide world of... This is basically the way we see the world. And we don't question it at all. This is what is called illusion in Vedanta. Because we don't question it, because we don't see it for what it truly is. The enlightened person sees exactly this world for what it truly is. One limitless existence, consciousness place. Like a dream. Like a movie. Even when you see the movie for what it is, the movie still goes on. You can watch the movie, but you know that it's not really a house, not really a person, not really cops and robbers, chasing. It's a screen with lights, pictures, and what it is light and sound and a screen. That's the real knowledge of the movie, and after that you can keep seeing the movie. That's how a movie should be seen, that you know what it is really, not take it to be the reality. So what we took to be the reality is an appearance of something deeper. And now we are in that dichotomy, what you just said. When we are given this teaching, before that we had no dichotomy. This is reality. What dichotomy is there? Now we have a dichotomy. There is a deeper reality called Brahman. When we become enlightened and see it for as what it is, the dichotomy also disappears. Brahman only exists. What is the nature of the world? The Panchadashi says, the nature of this world. The Panchadashi is a classic text of post-Shankara Vedanta. It says three things. What is the nature of the world? To the person of the worldly person, to the man in the world. He says Vastavi, the author says Vastavi. Vastavi means absolutely real. It's just the reality. Then to the investigator, to the philosopher, to the person who's seeking, Anirvachaniya. It cannot be said to be absolutely real. All the teachings, all the logic, all my philosophy, all my science shows that this is not the real. It cannot be the ultimate reality. There is something beyond or deeper here. And I cannot dismiss it also. I can't say it's not real. Because I'm living in this world. Even whatever I say, I'm behaving as if this world is real. This body is real. So, Anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya in Sanskrit means inexpressible as true or false, real or unreal. You can't say it's really real. You can't say it's absolutely false. And to the enlightened one, Tuchha. Non-existent. The world doesn't exist at all. Brahman alone exists. God alone exists. Or as Sri Ramakrishna says, God has become all of this. Okay, I'll just give you the straight answer. The difference between, as far as this is concerned, this world appearance, what is the difference between Kashmiri Shaivism and Advaita? There's a big difference. See, just speaking to your earlier question, to whom does the dichotomy appear? The dichotomy appears to that second person. Us. We are studying Vedanta. It seems dichotomous. There are two realities. But any religious person has the same problem. God and the world. Any scientific investigator has the same problem. Ultimate reality and the way it appears to us. All right, now Kashmiri Shaivism and Advaita Vedanta. So, Advaita Vedanta says the reality is consciousness alone, or existence consciousness alone. Satchidananda, existence consciousness place. That is the reality. And what it appears to be is this world. Just like a rope appears to be a snake, without any change. The rope has not changed. The rope has not become a snake. It just looks like that to us because of our ignorance, preconceived notions, whatnot. Memories of a snake, and so on. Kashmiri Shaivism says that no, this world is not an appearance. It's real. But what it really is Shiva. So Shiva is consciousness which vibrates. The vibration of consciousness, it produces endless forms and shapes and manifestations of consciousness, of Shiva, each of which is real, all the way down to the material universe, this universe. All of this is Shiva at a certain state of vibration. We call it spanda. Spanda. Spanda means vibration. Recently I was talking to this scientist, philosopher, very brilliant man, Bernardo Kastrup. And he's just, I think he's got PhDs in computer science, he's got a PhD in analytic philosophy, and so on. He's got this book, which I'm reading now, Why Materialism is Baloney, which is very interesting, coming from a scientist, a scientifically trained man, a real researcher. So while talking, he said, the world is excitations, patterns of excitations in consciousness, this universe. I said, Kashmiri Shaivas would be very happy with your description. Advaita would say, no, the world is an appearance of consciousness, in consciousness, and to consciousness. But it's nothing other than consciousness itself. And nothing has happened, no excitation, no patterns, no vibrations. Why not? Because consciousness, if you look at it, if you really appreciate consciousness for what it is, how can it vibrate? Just look at your own consciousness right now. What's happening there? Things are appearing to you. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions. They are appearances, they rise and shine in consciousness and disappear. There's no sense of vibration. If there's a sense of vibration, that is also appearing to consciousness. When I said this, he smiled and he said, yes, but a lot of people would be uncomfortable with what you said. That's why he says, when I say patterns of excitation in consciousness, I am making a concession to language. As far as I am personally concerned, I am with the Upanishads and Advaita. if you're rigorously logical, not only logical, if you calmly meditate and look, no, you just don't have to meditate, introspect and look inwards. Consciousness, as apart from objects, as apart from the world, body, mind, just bare awareness itself, does it vibrate? No. Material object can vibrate. Maybe even thoughts can vibrate. All right, but concession. And my feeling about Kashmiri Shaivism is it's concessions all the way through. Why? So you are saying it's wrong? No. There is a great advantage in I'll speak in favor of Kashmiri Shaivism. After all, in favor of Kashmiri Shaivism, it could be said, what are you trying to do anyway? Kashmiri Shaivism, Buddhism, Advaita, Sankhya, Bhakti, whatever you're trying to do. What are you trying to do here? You are trying to achieve enlightenment and go beyond sorrow. That's the whole big picture. And if something gets you there more powerfully, more efficiently, then that's a better view. That's a more effective view. Kashmiri Shaivism, see, in Advaita Vedanta, what's the most, one of the most prevalent questions? There are some. Because Advaita is so shocking that some questions come up. One would always be the old big question. Why is the world false? I can't swallow that. Second question would be, all right, I heard it all, I get it, I'm sold, but what do I do now? Advaita has no answer to that. Advaita would say, you haven't got it. You would never ask this question if you had gotten it. What's your name? Sandhya. So, if somehow you forgot that you're Sandhya and then you were reminded and you realize you're Sandhya, would you now say that, yeah, I realize I'm Sandhya, but now what do I have to do? Just be Sandhya. That's all. But if you say that, I understand it all, that you're telling me I'm Sandhya, I get all the theory, but what practices do I have to do to become Sandhya? What's the direct answer? The direct answer is that you haven't understood the teaching. It's like you're sitting right there and you ask, how do I get to the Vedanta Society of New York? I'll tell you, you're right there. No, how do I get to the Vedanta Society? I'm here, but how do I get to the Vedanta Society of New York? Advaita Vedanta will tell you that, but you are there in the Vedanta Society of New York. And if that doesn't make a dent, Kashmiri Shaivism comes in and says, I've got this. Kashmiri Shaivism will tell you, look, Sandhya, I'll tell you, how do you get to Vedanta? I'm the shortest way. Just get up from there, go out of that door, then take a walk around the block, and then come to 34 West 71st Street, come in there, and you are there in the Vedanta Society of New York. And then you say, that's practical, that's what I wanted to know. Advaita can only keep telling you, you are that. I've seen a very great teacher of Advaita Vedanta. His answer to these questions is, listen again, repeat the Upanishads, the Gita, the Brahma Sutras, the Advaita texts. Well, I have been repeating for 30, 40 years. Then his answer is always, better luck next life. But Kashmiri Shaivism will not do that. Kashmiri Shaivism, there is a book, Vijnana Bhairava, which has 112, I think, dharanas, techniques of meditation. Why one technique? I'll give you 112. Each of which can lead you directly to enlightenment. But they are all like go around the block and come back. All of them. Mahendranath Gupta, one of the greatest of Kashmiri Shaiva, he says, to one who understands what one's Shiva nature is, none of these dharanas are necessary. None of these methods are necessary. All right, so this is the answer. I'll come to you. There's a gentleman who raised his hand there. Yeah. Tell us your question. You don't have to stand up. Just sit. Tell us your question.
So in Vedanta you say everything is Brahman, and we practice and see that everything around us is God. We practice for a couple of hours a day and then we lose the state of it. And then we become normal and we see the world as it appears.
I'm listening to you very carefully.
And in Shaivism in South India, you have a tradition of saying that this world is vibration of God, that is dance of Shiva. and you have so many different forms like Ananda Tandava, like Rudra Tandava, and things like that. And those forms and stories are more exciting than the Vedanta that
You're right. I mean, more exciting. You're right. I mean, I have seen a whole range of spectacular yawns in Vedanta classes. It's very yawn-inducing. Yeah, go on.
Here I see there is no music or there is no stories around that. I hear so many forms, and there are great people who had followed the Shaivism from 6th century or 7th century, and we call them as Nayanmas or Alvas, right? And they have done simple act of being a devotee of Shiva, and then they have reached the path of enlightenment. And I want to relate how this Vedanta and the Shaivism can be correlated. And
It's the same thing. Through that path, what will you attain? You will attain this realization only. Yeah, you will attain this realization only. That was the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. He will tell a little later. Swami Vivekananda says, through the paths of work, worship and knowledge, one comes to the same reality. Directly through the path of knowledge, he says Advaita, but you can do it through work and worship also. See, if you look at the Vedas, they're broadly divided into three parts: work, worship and knowledge. In Sanskrit, the technical terms are karma, upasana, jnana. So, the great rituals of Vedic Hinduism, like yajna and all, they were the karma part of it. That later became the tremendous amount of rituals you see in the devotional forms of Hinduism. You will go to the temples. I've seen Kapalishwara temple in Chennai. So, a lot of rituals are there. Especially in the south, you will see. That is the modern form of Vedic karma kanda. What is its use? In a worldly sense or otherworldly sense, what if you do those rituals, you will get what you desire in this world or on the next world. But in a spiritual sense, they purify you, the Vedic rituals. Then there is Vedic chanting, which is also kind of work done through speech. And then there are meditations, upasana. The Vedic meditations have gone out of use. Now there are many meditations in our theistic traditions, in Shaivism, Vaishnavism, in India, in Hinduism. So they are the counterparts of the worship portion of the Vedas. And this Advaita, which Sri Ramakrishna is talking, he really doesn't want to talk about it. The neighbor asked, what is this Vedanta? So this is the Jnana portion. Now Sri Ramakrishna's conclusion is, you will come to the same reality through work, worship and meditation, if you take them as spiritual practices. Sri Ramakrishna had a realization of God by being a pujari in a temple, Kali temple, through ritualistic practice actually, through devotion, and through the path of meditation. He will tell, all of them he will tell now. This is the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. If you go to classical Advaita Vedanta, they are a little bit of snobs. They will say, all that is very nice, but they are preparatory. Finally, you have to come to Advaita. The real thing is with us, that you are Brahman. If you go to the traditional, say, the theistic, Vishishta Advaita, what will they say about Advaita? They will say, it's wrong. You cannot reach God that way. That there is no such thing as a Nirguna Brahman. You are not Brahman. That sometimes you may feel merged with Shiva, but you are not Shiva. Shiva and you are different. Shaivism also has these two forms. One is the Kashmiri Shaivism, which is Advaitic. One is the Shaivism you find in Tamil Nadu, for example, which is Dvaitic, dualistic, devotional. So, yeah. But look at the language you used. We practice for 2 hours in a day and then we forget it. Advaita never says that. We hear this and we practice. Advaita never says that. If you say that to an Advaitin, Advaitin will say, you have not heard. First hear. Yes. I'll come to you. Hold on to your questions. I'll go on further. Yeah. Ask the question.
Does either classical Advaita or Ramakrishna in particular recommend self-inquiry or any kind of particular practices for realizing this central?
Yes, yes. Advaita Vedanta is all about self-inquiry. And they have multiple procedures for that self-inquiry. The method of the seer and the seen, the method of the 5 layers of the human personality, the method of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. These are all procedures for step by step, sticking to your experience and with reason, going deeper and finding out and realizing that. These are direct paths. These are direct ways, direct pointing to the reality within you. At this point, someone may ask, if, as you said, Swami, that Kashmiri Shaivism or the Shaivism in the south or devotional religions as taught by Sri Ramakrishna, Kali worship, Krishna worship, if these are all practical and powerful and effective, then why are we at all bothered about Advaita Vedanta? The bhakti paths are sweet and very fulfilling. As you said, music, dance. Sri Ramakrishna, it says, he danced and sang with the devotees. It's exciting. And Advaita itself is yawn-inducing. There's no singing and dancing. It seems to be dry texts, and this reasoning. What can you say in the favor of Advaita Vedanta? I will say this much. If you want sweetness, love, fulfillment straight away, not ultimately, bhakti is the way for you. If you want peace of mind and turning inwards into ever and deeper levels of your being, meditation, yoga is the way for you, and tantra also. If you want truth, Advaita is there for you. Which is why, if I take Krishna worship, Shiva worship, Kali worship, or Jesus or Allah or whatever, to the philosophy department in NYU, I'll be laughed out. If I take it to Sam Harris or Daniel Dennett or Christopher Hitchens, I'll be laughed out. But not Advaita Vedanta. If someone says, I cannot believe in these things, I have a problem with these things, tell me something which I cannot refute, which is irrefutable. Then you have something like Advaita Vedanta, you have something like Dzogchen Buddhism, for example. So those paths. The beauty of Sri Ramakrishna is saying that you needn't be a snob about it. Or you needn't... See, there are 2 ways of reacting to Advaita Vedanta. The classical Advaita Vedanta is a little bit snobbish about everything else. Like you're a bunch of kids. When you grow up, come here. The non-Advaitins are scared of Advaita. So the reaction is anxiety or even anger or denial that there is such a thing. No. But Sri Ramakrishna says, all of these paths will take you to the truth. They all work. They have all produced saints, men and women of the highest character and spirituality. So that's what they've done. Let me hold on to your questions. Let me read a little more. As I said, there's a lot packed in here. So even the I is illusory. Brahman alone exists. You realize that you are Brahman and that's it. Not this individual I. Then Sri Ramakrishna, see the practical nature of the thing. He says next, but the I cannot be got rid of. You may say it's illusory, but it'll come back. It'll still appear. It's like the movie you can't switch off. You realize it's a movie, but you can't switch it off. So the I comes back, the world comes back, the I comes back. And then Sri Ramakrishna, see what he says. Therefore, it is good to have the feeling, I am the servant of God, his son, his devotee. Later on, he says, I'm skipping 2 sentences, as long as one is conscious of the body, one is also conscious of objects. If you're conscious of this limited personality, and we are, then we're conscious of objects. And see, objects, he uses a pretty philosophical sense of objects. If you just ask a person, give me some example of objects, he'll say, well, the table and the clock and my mobile phone and my shirt, these are objects. No. A little more philosophically, if you look at it, look at your own experience. What appears to you in experience? Sensory experience. Forms and colors, shapes, sounds, smell, taste, touch. Look at this, what he says. Objects, form, taste, smell, sound and touch. Whatever we think, table, mobile phone, that person, if you look at it, if you analyze it, what exactly is that person to you in your actual experience? It's a shape, it's a color. If you touch, it's a touch. So all five senses objectify. It could be a person, an animal, a plant, a table, a gadget, one's own body, but they are basically form, shapes, sound, taste, color, smell, touch. So as long as you're conscious of these things, as objects, it's extremely difficult to get rid of the consciousness of objects. And one cannot realize I am he, soham, so long as one is aware of objects. Okay. Something very deep here. First of all, his recommendation. It's, if you have the sense of I, then what do you do? Practically, what do you do? Very powerful, very effective. I am the servant of God. I am the son of God, son or daughter of God. I am the devotee, the lover of God. So a devotional attitude towards God. And then he says, in this age, the path of bhakti is especially good. One can realize God through bhakti too, through love of God too. That's basically, when you say through love of God too, the majority of people in world religions will be outraged. They'll say, what do you mean too? That is the way. Yes, so that's an easier way. Now, I find it very interesting, this sentence. I'll just say a few words about it and then go to your questions, if you hold on to your questions. One cannot realize I am he as long as one is aware of objects. Is Sri Ramakrishna aware of objects? Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi, Buddha, are they aware of objects? Sight, smell, taste, touch, are they aware or not? The straight answer is yes, be logical there, because they are interacting with us. They know what is food, what is to be eaten, what is not to be eaten. They know the difference between themselves and others. They can distinguish in people. They know who is who. So they are clearly aware of the world, which means if they have eyes, they can see. If they have ears, they are clearly hearing. If you ask a question, they answer. They have heard your question. Let's be commonsensical there. So in that case, he says, as long as one is aware of objects, one cannot realize I am he. What does that mean? It means two things here. One in the yogic sense, one in the Advaitic sense. In the yogic sense, you need to switch off the awareness of objects in order to realize what's underneath. That is consciousness itself. It is consciousness itself which is projecting itself as I and this, subject and object. Vivekananda says, one only exists. It appears as nature and soul. Soul is you. Nature is everything else. But underneath both, you and everything else, is only one reality, Brahman or consciousness. Now, how do you get to it? How do you get to it? It's like, how do you get to the screen in a movie? When the movie is playing, you're watching it. How do you get to the underlying screen in the movie? There are two ways. You can switch off the movie and see for yourself. So when the movie is switched off, what happens? The first thing which happens is complete darkness. And then the lights in the hall come on and you see the screen for itself. That complete darkness is like our deep sleep, anesthesia, coma. And when the lights come on, that's like the yogic samadhi. You see the reality. See means definitely within quotes. You don't see. You are that reality. Sri Ramakrishna says what happens then? Bodhe bodh. Consciousness is realized through consciousness or in consciousness. Literally, consciousness in consciousness. And that's also language struggling. It's self-luminous. It's always revealed. So that's the yogic way. One cannot realize I am he, I am consciousness, as long as one is aware of objects. Consciousness outwardly turned through mind and senses always experiences objects. If you shut your eyes to the objects, you'll have objects in the mind. Thoughts, emotions, ideas. If you shut out those, you'll fall asleep. If you do it in a yogic way, you will not fall asleep and you will realize that you are consciousness. You are the Atman, Purusha, whatever you call it. That's one way, yogic way. But do you really have to switch off the movie to understand that or to see the screen? After all, whenever you're seeing the movie, are you not seeing the screen? All of us, whoever have seen movies in the cinema hall, when you're seeing the movie, are you or are you not seeing the screen? You don't get it? You have to be very clear about this. In order to at all appreciate what the Advaitin is doing. When you see a movie, are you seeing the screen or not? Tell me with confidence. Yes. That's what you're seeing. Screen with pictures. And those who say, yeah, but it's covered with pictures. Is it really covered with pictures? Is there like a layer, thin, slimy layer which comes on top of the screen because pictures appear there? No. It's just the screen itself. Suppose your TV screen or computer monitor. It's just projecting the pictures within itself. It's just the monitor. It's just the screen. Or they didn't have these technologies way back. So Shankaracharya used the metaphor of a mirror. The beautiful Dakshinamurti Stotram, the first line, it says, the universe is like a city seen in a mirror. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam. The universe is like a city seen in a mirror, but within oneself. Because immediately when you say mirror, you're saying that, okay, there's a mirror and you can see something in it. That means it's outside somewhere that's being reflected. There's no outside here because they didn't have TV screens and all that. It's all there in the mirror. But in the mirror, when you see a city, you see houses and roads. But if you go and touch that, what are you touching? Glass. You don't touch a house or a road. Never a house, never a road, never a person. It's just glass and glass. It's just a mirror. Similarly, in this experience here, there's consciousness and consciousness alone all the time. There really aren't persons, cities, people, and events, and actions, and history. No, it's just that mirror. Yes, at the level of the movie, you can talk about it. That's what the film reviewer, film critic does on the column in the New York Times. It's not that the movie doesn't exist. It does exist. And you can talk reasonably about what Harry Potter did or did not do. So at the level of fiction, it does exist. But other than the fiction, it's not real. It's fiction. What I'm driving at is, what will the Advaitins say when you say you cannot realize I am he as long as one is aware of objects? One may be aware of objects and yet know that they are unreal. And then you realize I am he. In Vedanta, the unreality of objects means mithyatva nishchaya, not the disappearance of objects. I'll repeat this again and again. The disappearance of objects is samadhi, yogic samadhi, or tantric samadhi. But the appearance and disappearance of objects takes place in the same film screen, in the same mirror of consciousness. That mirror of consciousness is always available to you, even when objects are there, even when you're awake, working through this body and mind, when they are looking at us and talking with us, they see exactly, literally, one limitless, radiance of existence, consciousness place. Just as if you look at all the golden jewelry in Tiffany's and you say, see all these jewels, you'll say, yep. And if you say, see all the gold, you would say, yep, I see the gold. You can see all of them are nothing but gold. Do you have to melt down all the jewels and reduce it to an indistinguishable mush to see that it is gold? Huh? No, not at all. You can enjoy it in all their variety. And yet know it's the self-same gold. It's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying here is, one cannot realize the gold as long as one thinks there are ornaments, in the sense that one thinks that ornaments are the reality. One doesn't know the underlying gold. When you know the underlying gold, you can see as many ornaments as you like and still be comfortably aware that it's gold. When you are enlightened, you can still be in the midst of the world and see people, talk, walk, do your work, engage with the world, and still know it is nothing has happened. It's one limitless existence, consciousness place. Yeah. This is a subtle point, but very important. Questions? Yes. This lady here, and somebody else had raised a hand. Probably forgotten the question. I'll come to you then. Yeah, the lady here, yes. Yes. If it's very difficult, it just means the mind has not been prepared. And that's why all the other sadhanas are necessary. Vivekananda says, I'm literally quoting Vivekananda. There are some who will come to it through Advaita alone. But for the rest, work and worship are necessary. So, the straight answer to your question is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Dhyana, meditation. All three must go together. In Advaita, don't rush towards the Nididhyasana. Keep studying Advaita. That's the direct path. It will flash one day. But to make it flash, The mind must be polished. Vivekananda says all that we can do is polish the mirror. To polish the mirror, selfless action, devotion to God, and daily regular meditation. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga. These are preparatory. And this I am not saying from Vivekananda's perspective or Ramakrishna's perspective. I am saying this from classical Advaita Vedanta perspective. They take it for granted that we are spending lots of time in either ritualistic, devotional worship, in meditation, and leading as moral a selfless life as possible. Question, the lady there. Yes, Shakta Advaitin means non-dual. It's less like the Kashmiri Shaivism, which is a kind of non-dualism. There's another corresponding kind of non-dualism where the ultimate reality is not called Shiva, but Shakti. So Shakti is the Divine Mother. And you can clearly see why some people would call Sri Ramakrishna Shakta Advaitin, because look at what's happening here. There's a song about the Divine Mother. It says here, awake mother, awake, how long thou hast been asleep. Now mother is not asleep, but it's calling out to the Kundalini Shakti within us, which is taken to be asleep. That's why we are in this worldly life. In the lotus of the Mooladhara, so the whole paradigm of the 7 chakras in our spine. So this is a whole different paradigm. You'll never get this paradigm in Advaita Vedanta. If you ask a classical Advaitin, so in the spine at the bottom there's a lotus of the Mooladhara. Yeah, that will be the reaction. What? Spine, why? But it works. See, this is the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. He's not that everything goes. No, he has tried out these paths and actually seen for himself. Like Vivekananda says, I have walked the path and I know every inch of the way. And then he picked up a pebble and he said, as a result, I'm as hard as that. That means I know every inch of the way. I know what I'm talking about. So, Sri Ramakrishna here, entirely by the path of the awakening the Kundalini and moving it through the 6 lotuses up to the 7th lotus in the crown of the head, one attains enlightenment, the unity of Shiva and Shakti. So that's a different paradigm. And it's true. You will reach enlightenment, and not a lower grade of enlightenment compared to Advaita Vedanta. The same enlightenment. Unfortunately for Advaitins who want to be snobbish about it. Yes. So you can clearly see. So Sri Ramakrishna hears that song. They're eating upstairs. And the song is being sung downstairs. Sri Ramakrishna, his hand is going to eat. And he goes into Samadhi. And he's frozen there. It's like a picture. Like a photograph. He's frozen. He can't move. Has he become epileptic or catatonic or something? No, it's just the opposite. The mind is taken to such a high pitch of absorption, complete sattvic and absorption. He loses sight of the external world, of the body, of thoughts of the mind, except the Divine Mother. There's nothing else in his awareness. He's completely absorbed there. And then when he comes out a little bit, his first reaction is, I want to go downstairs. And so they take him carefully downstairs, and he sits near that singer and says very softly, Sir, I want to hear that again. And he starts the same song again. And again, Sri Ramakrishna goes into Samadhi. Going to Samadhi means what? The mist of this world is dispelled, the underlying reality alone exists. There, objects are gone. Mother alone exists. Yeah. Movies switched off. Who else was there? The 2 persons. The young man there and... Okay, I'll come to you. And then him. Yes. Advisable to learn Vedanta and Tantra at the same time. Why not? You must have a paradigm. So let me just tell you in our own system what we do in our tradition. So in our tradition we study Vedanta in this way, and we are Vedantic monks. We are initiated in the Vedantic tradition, in the Shankara's tradition. We are monks, Puri order of monks. And all the Mahavakyas, everything is done in the Vedantic tradition. At the same time, we also have our upasana, our method of worship, where the Guru transmits a mantra to us and the visualization technique. If you see the visualization technique which is given, you can clearly see the impact of Tantra there. The lotus of the heart and the luminous presence of the deity, a deity visualization, and a mantra associated with it. If you are initiated in this tradition, you will see the mantra and the seed words, bijas associated with it, clearly tantric influence. So you're doing both. Now, is this accepted classically? Absolutely. If you go to the Shankara Mathas, if you go to Sringeri, Kanchi Kamakoti, Govardhan Peeth in India, which are the bastions of Advaita Vedanta. What are the Shankaracharyas there doing most of the day? Ritualistic worship, this way. Worship of the Divine Mother. Yeah. Vivekananda, he said, harmony of 4 yogas. Jnana, Bhakti, Karma and Dhyana. Usually, I'll tell you, as far as I have seen amongst practitioners, they fall in 2 categories, the Bhakti category or the Jnana category, in the sense their worldview is either a Bhakti worldview or a Jnana worldview. The Bhakti worldview is, I am this person, God exists and I am worshipping God. Even when I study the Upanishads, Vedanta, I am also worshipping God, because I am studying the holy scriptures given by God. The Jnana paradigm is one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, and I am that. As this monk, I can go to the temple and bow down before the image of Sri Ramakrishna, which is Brahman. I am Brahman also. I am Brahman in the form of the devotee. There is Brahman in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. In the dining hall, in the kitchen, there is Brahman in the form of rice and dal, and I am the Brahman in the form of a hungry man. I can eat Brahman. Yeah, if you can, literally. You see, in Advaita Vedanta, people ask me, if I am he, like I am Brahman, I am that reality, then who prays to whom? First of all, this is a mixing up of 2 levels of reality. When you ask who prays, you're thinking of yourself as a person. You in the same sentence, you have said, I am Brahman, and next you're saying, I am not Brahman. The question of praying does not arise there. But if it does arise, in that case, where is the problem? If as a knower of Brahman, you can eat and walk and hold a job and drive, what harm has poor God done that you can't bow down to God or chant a mantra? So all activities in the world are entirely possible for the non-dualist. All activities. Krishna goes to the extent of telling Arjuna to fight a war for God's sake. Most horrible thing. Even that is possible. Everything in the world. See, right now the truth is, are you Brahman or not? According to classical Advaita Vedanta, you are. And you are a student, a husband, a wife, a mother, a child, you are a professor, you are old or young. All of that is also possible only because you are Brahman. Yeah. Who had the question? Yes.
Swami, could you reconcile or contrast this idea of no longer seeing objects, or being aware constantly of the screen, with the concept of shunyata? And
Yes.
in particular, emptiness itself being empty.
True. I'll give you 2 examples of emptiness. The screen example is a particularly good example. So on the screen you see, Harry Potter and what's the school? Hogwarts school, and the evil magicians and good magicians and all of that, sky and earth and things happening. At the same time, can I honestly claim that the screen is empty of magicians and sky and earth and good and bad happenings? Can I say the screen is entire in the midst of all that? Is there really are there really wizards and on the screen? No. It's just light. So the screen is empty of objects which are appearing all the time on the screen. And it's that very emptiness which makes it possible. Bernardo shared a very nice example from of emptiness, his understanding of emptiness. He said that's where my training as an he's also an engineer, so on top of all right. So as an electrical engineer came in, he said that I was trying to understand how can something exist and yet be utterly empty of everything. And he says, then it struck me, just as we are taught, and this I'm quoting him, I'm not an electrical engineer, so I might misquote, as all what we hear on a radio, music, speech, there's a carrier wave, which doesn't have, which is, he gives the example of the drone, which we have the background in the classical music. Yeah, that one. So he says there is a carrier wave which is there, and all that we actually hear on the radio, all speech and music and sounds and whatever, all special effects, everything, these are just distortions of the basic carrier wave. The carrier wave itself is empty of music, speech, whatever it is. But the carrier wave is there. It's not that it's nothing. But it's not a speech, it's not a song, it's not none of those things. But all speeches and songs are all possible because of that carrier wave. And that carrier wave is constant. Speeches and songs come and go. And sometimes none of those distortions are there, but the basic carrier wave is still there. And sometimes it's covered over by its own distortions. And you don't recognize the basic carrier wave anymore. But it's always empty of all content. So I like that example. Yes, the last question.
So I have a question. I asked my Guru this question actually, and I'm trying to absorb the answer. The question is about grace in the dualistic sense,
Kripa.
There are no space for that in the Advaitic paradigm, and my Guru said there is grace, but it's not undeserved. It's from self-effort. It's unfurling the sail.
He's right.
But that does not feel intuitive to someone like me. What feels intuitive is if in the bhakti path, something good happens and you feel awash in grace because you can't figure out what you did to deserve that, right? People call it luck, people call it pipa, people call it grace. Grace is fundamentally, at least in a Western sense, undeserved. So he explains that in an Advaitic sense, it's...
Yes. Right. In Advaitic sense, the direct answer is from the Upanishads. Yaeva vivrunute tasyeva atmasa. The one who... so, to whom does the Atman reveal itself? To whom does Brahman reveal itself? And the answer in the Upanishads is, it reveals itself to whomever it chooses. So that sounds very dualistic. It's like God choosing and revealing, yeah. But if you look at the commentary of Shankaracharya, Shankaracharya says, Atman reveals itself to whoever it chooses. Whom will it choose? And then his answer is very beautiful. The Atman chooses the one who chooses it. So that much effort must be made. We must make an effort to turn towards it. When it reveals itself to us, when we make the breakthrough, or even in small moments of vision, of clarity, all the time we recognize that was not our effort, that came from somewhere else. But that effort which we have to make, if you're constantly engaged in a movie, we lose sight of the screen. Let me give one example from fishing. Shankaracharya said, to whom does the Atman reveal itself? To the one who chooses the Atman. Whom does the Atman choose? The one who chooses the Atman. How do you choose the Atman? You choose the Atman by study and meditation and prayer and selfless work and turning up for class. And that's how you choose the Atman. Vivekananda gives a commentary. It's quite amazing that you asked the question today, because I was today reading this from the Inspired Talks. Swami Vivekananda says, this grace, he calls it choice. He says, this election is true. Election means you're elected to be enlightened or get God realization. He says it is true, but it is an internal election. And he says all fanaticism comes from this idea of external election. Somebody from outside is going to choose you. Then you have to surrender to that particular sect or religion, and otherwise you will not be given grace. Grace is only limited to those who join my church, my religion, or my cult. He says that is the source of all fanaticism. It is an internal, what will be revealed to you is your own reality. And it happens, and it chooses you because you have turned towards it. Let me give you an example from fishing. It's been going on in my mind. Sri Ramakrishna gives this example, Swami Brahmananda, but never struck me as how important that is. You have to, I must thank Central Park. There have been people who are fishing there, and yes, they put the fish back also, so don't worry about the fish. So they sit there, they make so much preparation. They get a sophisticated line, and I'm sure these things are expensive. They get bait, and they select a spot which is undisturbed, and they sit there quietly. But they don't fall asleep. They're not looking at their mobile phone. They're not distracted, nor are they sleepy. They're alert and still. With all the preparation, then you wait. And Sri Ramakrishna says, sometimes the fish nibbles and you feel it. And then finally the fish will bite and you reel it in. Similarly, in spiritual life, you have got mantra diksha, You sit in your appointed hour of meditation, calmly drive every thought of the world, of your personal life, the problems, issues, all of it out, no admittance, in the peaceful mind, with a loving heart. Take up the mantra, visualize the deity as well as you can, and keep repeating. And we think we are doing it. No, at that point you wait, because there's a response from the other side. If we are all up and doing, either we are up and doing, I'm repeating the mantra, I'm trying to get it, we are too busy to notice it. Especially if a person is restless and trying to catch the fish will never come near. Or what happens to us, we are not busy, we do it mechanically and fall asleep. Then also the fish will not bite. If it bites, you will miss it. So, attention, love, attention is focus. Focus and with love, a loving heart. Because you are inviting the Lord in, not a fish to be caught. And then wait attentively. Because something will come from the other side. That's promised. It's not generated by you. You may have to wait for months and years. Like Shabari, this famous story, a lifetime of waiting. And that waiting itself is so beautiful. As the waiting deepens, it becomes the most beautiful thing in your life. There's a song, I think Rabindranath, I've forgotten the exact words. He says, I wait at the door of my little hut. It's rain swept and lit up by the sunlight. Storms come and go. The seasons, the skies wheel around and the seasons change. And I wait and I watch, because one day he will come. So that is the meditative, that focus. Let me just read one thing which I wanted to touch upon, because we've really gone beyond time, but it's a very beautiful thing. He talks about, people say we are sinners, and then he says, take the name of God, it will go away. And his example is very interesting. A reservoir dug in a meadow. It's not a reservoir connected to a river or a perennial water source, the ocean, where there's continuously water. No, a reservoir dug in the meadow has a limited amount of water. Sin is like that. Our past karma is what we have generated through past lives. It's strictly limited. And by God's grace, it can be wiped out, we can be set free. The debts can be cancelled. It requires presidential will. So it can be cancelled. Student debts. So it's a limited amount. And it can be done, and he says it can be done by the repetition of the name of God. But he says you must practice it every day. That's also a very important teaching. And then and he gives the example of the circus which he saw, and the English woman, balancing on the back of a horse and so on. How much skill and how much practice is required. But one little sentence here: weep at least once to see God. Once a day, or once in your lifetime. I know of the efficacy of this. I know of this monk who said, I am today a monk of the order, and everything I put it down to, whatever I've got in my life, in spiritual life. He said, everything I put it down to the fact that when I was a little boy, I didn't understand all this, but somehow, some blessed movement from within, I remember sitting near the window and weeping for God. And I feel it's that little boy's tears which God noticed. Not all my study, my meditation, all my philosophy and all. And because of that, I've got whatever I've got today. And whatever I'll keep getting. So cry at least once in a lifetime for God. God notices. And if you can cry more, make it a routine. Time to cry for God. It's in my schedule. Yes, crocodile tears. No, that will not work. It must come from within. I'll end with this. One of the greatest non-dualist teachers I have seen in my life. I can tell his name. He's passed now. Ramananda Saraswati. He has passed away. He's a wandering monk, traditional kind of Himalayan monk. One young monk, after becoming a monk, he comes to this great master and asks him for advice. Now, who is saying this? a great non-dualist, Advaitin. And he says, after giving some advice, he adds at the end, Ramananda Saraswati, to that newly ordained monk. I'll tell you in Hindi and translate. और देखो कर सको तो प्रभु के चरण दिन में एक बार दो बार प्रभु के चरण पकड़ के रो ले क्या और करोगे. If you can, my boy, if you can, then catch hold of the feet of the Lord and weep. What else can you do? So Sri Ramakrishna, this little thing he sneaked in there. It doesn't match anything else. It's sort of a special instruction he sneaks in there. That weep at least once to see God. Not weep to God because I'm in distress. People do that. A lot of people have wept to God because they want something. No, weep in front of God for God. For God and nothing else. You see the magic of that. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.